Welcome back to Serving Up Pitt, your home for all things Pitt volleyball. I'm Pitt beat reporter Abby Schnable, and that is my lovely co-host Kat Flood. And what a weekend it was! From a frustrating night in South Bend to a statement win over number 4 Louisville. We're going to break down Friday struggles, Sunday success, the libero switch, how Marina Pezelj stepped in for Dagmar Moritz, and of course, Olivia Babcock's absolutely ridiculous weekend of 70 kills in 10 sets, including a program record 41 against the Cardinals. There's a lot to unpack up here, so let's go ahead and serve up some Pitt volleyball. Kat, just what a weekend.
I mean, like hearing Dagmar go down and then seeing the start of the Friday game, I was like, wow, it's gonna be rough. And then it's like somehow they managed to just completely blow it out of the water with everything. I guess I just want to keep it interesting.
Yeah. Well, I remember I watched the Notre Dame game, and we'll get into some of the details from both games, but I was just like, okay, if this is how they're gonna play, going down 2 sets against Notre Dame, and don't get me wrong, Notre Dame played fairly well, but that is not a team that should be taking 2 sets off of Pitt. Maybe 1, but definitely not going 2-0. And so with how rough Friday was, I was like, oh man, Sunday's gonna look bad, and they surprised me, and I'm happy about it because I love that they upset Louisville.
Yeah, and we've talked about depth the whole year, but it's really just a testament to people who are just stepping up in these moments. And just like everybody says, the grit that everybody's kind of finding to pull out the win no matter what. So yeah.
So let's look at Notre Dame a little bit. A reverse sweep for Pitt, which is always huge, hard, but huge. The game, Pitt just fell off kind of from the start. The passing wasn't crisp. Energy was pretty low, and Notre Dame really took advantage of that. I think for me, a big part of that was the fact that with Dagmar Moritz out, who has been one of their best passers, a staple in this starting lineup, you had to enter Marina Pezelj in. And Marina Pezelj is a great player, but she just hasn't been on the court nearly as much. So you're adding that in, and then about halfway through the first set, you're also Dan Fisher pulled Emery Dupes and put in Mallorie Meyer as libero. And so for me, they settled in. But I feel like a lot of those issues stem from the fact that you were inserting 2 players who aren't usually in this lineup into the lineup.
For sure. And I think that there's an uncomfortable aspect of it getting it's easier to be thrown into a game when you're doing well because you're going in and you're like, screw it, let's do this. But then you get thrown in when you're not doing well. And it's one of those things where you're thinking how am I going to help the team? How am I going to bring what they need right now? And what am I going to have to do? So having Marina and Mallorie really step up in these past 2 games and bring what the team needed was exactly something that everybody wants to see.
I was very impressed with Marina's performance on Friday, just because it could have been a really hard adjustment for her. And what I thought was funny is it felt like the entire team was adjusting to her, but she was very solid. I mean, she had a career high double-double, first ever double-double, 12 kills, 17 digs. 17 digs. She led the team in digs, and it's really the first time we've seen her play for more than just a little bit. And I thought she handled the pressure really well, which I didn't know if she was going to be able to do because of how solid, for the most part, Moritz has been and how much Marina hasn't played. And so for her to come in, and while the entire team is struggling, she kind of wasn't. She was. Everyone was struggling, but she was a very consistent presence in a team that was having a hard time. So I thought that was big for them.
Well, and I'm interested in how she has no reception errors versus the other pins, and even Mallorie, who have at least 1 or 2. And I think that her confidence and her presence on the court is just so calm for them. So when things started to get kind of frantic on Friday, when they started to lose and things didn't start going their way, I feel like she was the only one who kind of was just oh, well, let's just keep playing,
And then I really was excited that we finally that Fisher finally made the libero switch. I think this is something that me and you have been talking about for a couple weeks now, just about how inconsistent Emery Dupes has been at the job. I wouldn't say she's bad. she's just inconsistent. And that's when you're the number 4 team in the country and you're trying to play as elite volleyball, you can't have that from a libero. And it was a situation of we know what's behind her, but obviously there was something missing for Dan Fisher. And for Mallorie to go in, and she didn't start on Friday. Again, she got put in, and the way she handled that was really impressive. Stats didn't jump off the page, but she was making some crazy saves. Her serving kept up, and then it just paved the way for her performance against Louisville. I didn't necessarily know if that her being in the libero spot was going to stick, because we've seen him, especially at the beginning of the season, flip-flop between Emory and Izzy. But with how Mallorie played on Friday and then continue that into Sunday, I think that there's a hard case to make against her in the starting lineup.
Yeah, Mallory's always been somebody that's kind of been the silent killer in the background. You kind of know she's always there and she's always doing her job, but she doesn't really say anything about it. Playing with her is so easy. She's so just still face. She's like that, the Dark Knight. This girl is just she's doing her job the whole time, and she's she'll make a mistake and she's and we're okay, but she'll do something good. She's just flat. Okay. Flat, even. Totally flat, so even, so level-headed. And I've always loved that about her as a player. Go ahead.
You saw it in how she came in the late NCAA tournament games last year as a freshman. She hadn't really come in that much up until that point. And then I want to say I remember a significant service run against Oregon that was just okay, this is huge for the future of Pitt. And now we're seeing it. We're seeing her thrive.
Exactly. And she's just doing her thing right now. And it's fun to watch. I'm excited to see what the future will hold for the libero situation here. Because obviously, like you said, it's not like Emory's bad at all. It's not like she's just having she's having a hard time right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure why, because she was playing so well the entire spring, the entire summer, the entire time I was playing with her and watched her play. I just don't know. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes.
Moving over to the Louisville game, obviously a big game every season, but with Pitt coming off of how they played on Friday and then the week prior losing to Miami, it was a little bit more important. Maybe not as important as it would have been had SMU not beat Louisville on Friday, but if Pitt wants to win the ACC, which they do every single season, this was a game that you didn't necessarily need to win, but you couldn't look awful. And so the fact that Pitt not only won it, but didn't look awful was huge. And to go back to Mallorie for a second, a lot of that had to do with her back row defense. I mean, she was just stable, was really solid on serve receive for the most part. And that's a Louisville team that is not easy to defend against. She had 10 digs, which was second on the team, only behind Brooke Mosier. And she just really deserves some love for how she played, because with how well Olivia Babcock played, Mallorie's going to fly under the radar, but she just stabilized that back row. It wasn't flashy, but it really mattered.
For sure. She's so solid against a scrappy team like Louisville, and against hitters who aren't hitting the ball as hard as they can because they're a little bit undersized. Mind you, Chloe Chiquin is only 5'7", and Peyton Peterson is probably only 6 foot 6'1", and so they're throwing everything around back there. It's not like they're just cranking balls, and arguably that's even harder than playing against a big front line. So I do admire that she stepped into, not to mention one of our favorite, but also one of the hardest games of the year.
Yeah. There was just a big contrast in how they played on Friday and how they played on Sunday. And I got to mention, in Olivia Babcock's post-game interview on the broadcast on Friday, she said that she felt like the team needed this. And the way I kind of took it was that they needed a kick in the butt. And maybe that's
on the Friday game.
Yeah. After the Friday game. And maybe that's not what she intended, but that's kind of how I took it. And it went in because they had a really good first set, and they dropped the next two, but it goes back to the resilience piece of they buckled in when they needed to. And that is huge for the future, because this isn't an easy team to do that against.
No. And doing those like 5-set, high anxiety, high pressure, like absolute burners of games is like what really matters when it comes to the end. Like who's more weathered for the battle at the end of the road here.
And Pitt is very battle tested at this point. They've had to play through 2 reverse sweeps. They've won 1, lost 1, 5 sets, both games this weekend. It's not like last year in which you guys were just plowing through teams. Let's be real. That's how it was last year. And this year they're having to fight for it a little bit more, and I think it sets them up better.
And they don't have 6 people on the court all the time. There's 10 people who can be on the court.
Yes, so. which is huge. I got a shout out. We're going to get to Olivia. I know everyone's probably like, why haven't you talked about Olivia? And it's like, she's a whole bullet point in and of herself after this weekend.
Literally.
Brooke Mosier had 60 assists on Sunday. 60. Like, that's her career high. And that's just an insane number, especially against Louisville.
I'm sorry, I'm just adding in my brain right now. That's two full sets of kills.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like crazy. It's 2 full sets. One that's 50 points. That's 25 and a 25, and then there's an extra 5 thrown in there. You don't see that a lot, especially in like a 5-setter when it's not the cleanest volleyball ever. It's usually who's going to make them like who's making more errors, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there weren't like a ton of errors in this game.
No.
Like looking at it, I just don't. There's only 4, 12, 19. There's only like 24 errors. Mm-hmm. And that's a 5-setter. And that's no one hit double digits in the error category, including the person who had 41 kills and 78 attempts. But that's absolutely absurd. The 60 is crazy.
60 is crazy. And you got to think, with Olivia having 41, a lot of those came from Olivia, which just says a lot about Olivia and Brooke's connection and their ability to create that connection so quickly, with Brooke being new. And you know, I would have liked to see more from the other pins. Blair Bayless only had 11 kills. Marina Pezelj had 7. I would have liked to see them, but it didn't end up mattering because of Olivia, which we'll just go ahead and get into, because why beat around the bush? We've said it already. 41 kills. Not only 41 kills, but a .423 hitting percentage.
I mean,
and to give people some context, this is the only time this season that someone has had over 40 kills. It's the most in a single match this season. It's only the 4th time since 2019 that someone has had 4 or more 40 or more kills.
Was it Catherine Plummer or was it Jordan Thompson?
I didn't look at the exact
Catherine Plummer.
I just know it's happened 4 times since 2019, and Olivia is the 4th.
Literally ridiculous.
To open that up just beyond her Louisville performance, she had 70 kills over the weekend, averaged 7.95 points per set, 7.0 kills per set.
That's almost 3 sets full of just Olivia.
2.2 digs per set, 1 block per set, and an insane hitting percentage over the whole time.
Unreal.
I mean, 41 kills is insane, but when you look at her whole weekend, you're like, how?
I genuinely, like 46 points in a game. That's almost 2 full sets of just Olivia. That's how I'm thinking of it. That's insane. She's quite literally one of I think the best female college athlete. I'm seeing her compared to Caitlin Clark. No, I don't even think there's a comparison. Like volleyball and basketball are just so different. And I just I remember Catherine Plummer being insane, but I don't remember her doing stuff like this. I remember Jordan Thompson being insane. She does have the NCAA record of 50, and I think it's possible Olivia's going to break that.
Yeah. I mean, so her previous, before coming into Sunday's game, her previous career high was 33 kills against Louisville in the Final Four last season. She had 35 by the end of the 4th.
And when I was like in the first set, she wasn't like being dished the ball like. Really, I was like, okay, she's pretty quiet right now. I mean, she's never really quiet, but like whatever. But like I was like, oh my gosh, are they gonna get her going? Da, da, da. And then all of a sudden, I was like, okay, everybody's going to her, and they cannot stop her.
In the 3rd set, she had 13 of her kills. She really started going off. It was the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Like she was, like you said, you can't stop Olivia Babcock. I would have thought they would have slowed her down a little bit more with how familiar Dan Meskey is with her game.
Especially with somebody like Dan and that team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if they, like, that must have just been like a crap scout.
Or Olivia was just playing out of her mind, because I feel like there were a lot of times where they were in the right positions a lot of the times. Olivia was just being nasty with some of her plays.
She's so hot right now. She's just like over and inside and above and around everybody.
And so after the weekend, she earned ACC Offensive Player of the Year, duh. And then she also is not Player of the Year, sorry, ACC Offensive Player of the Week. And then she also won National Player of the Week this week.
Shocking.
It is shocking. It is her fourth time winning National Player of the Week. She's currently ties the all-time record, which was set with Minnesota's Stephanie Samedi for the all-time mark. Olivia still has the rest of this season and another year. So, like, that record is...
And, like, only makes me think about, like, what the heck is she going to do next year?
Yeah. What is she going to do? Some more stats for you. She has now jumped from, I want to say she was 8th heading into the weekend. She is now 2nd in the nation in points per set with 5.94. The only person ahead of her is Miami's Flor-Marie Heredia-Colon.
It's probably 6.01.
It's 6.2, I want to say. And then she's 6th in the nation in kills per set with 5.14. But of the ranked players ahead of her, Flor-Marie is number 1. Kennedy Martin from Penn State is ahead of her, and Mimi Collier from Wisconsin is ahead of her. But none of those players are as balanced as she is.
I don't think so.
Her stat line is so balanced, and you hear it in the broadcasts. Is they're saying over and over again, front runner to win Player of the Year, front runner to win Player of the Year, and like the other players that they keep bringing up to compare her to are Tori Stafford at Texas, Brooklyn DeLay from Kentucky, Bergen Riley at Nebraska, which is hard to compare because she's a setter, and then Flor-Marie, which, no offense to Flor-Marie, I think she's having a great individual season, but it usually goes to one of the top teams. And right now, I just don't see Miami breaking through into that.
I agree.
But I just don't think there's a big comparison between Olivia and the rest of them right now.
Yeah, and I hate to say it with the whole Tori situation because that's just tough.
And she's playing phenomenally. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Brooklyn,
exactly.
Tori, Bergen, all of those ladies are playing phenomenally, but Olivia's playing on a different level.
There's no, like, Tori is playing absolutely phenomenally. On any other year, she would probably be number 1 or number 2. It would be her in Brooklyn, but I think that just with the stuff that Olivia is doing, it's just so hard to not. And with all of, like, the media attention she's getting and everybody who's recognizing her as, like, one of the best athletes that has come out of, like, our time, I think it's going to be it's like a really hard argument to say that she's not going to be one of the semifinalists, if not the winner.
If she repeats, she'll be the 6th to do it, I believe. The last one was Catherine Plummer.
I can't remember.
Still a long time in the season to go. My question for you, Kat, is obviously Olivia's going to get hers. I would have liked to see Blair and Marina have more kills. Is this sustainable for Pitt to just have Olivia go off over and over again?
You know, you're talking about this. I'm like, so if it wasn't, they wouldn't be winning games. But, like, I don't know how teams are scouting her. They're gonna, like, damn near start putting a triple on her. And that will be interesting. And, like, the thing that's tough about this is, like, I'm looking at Blair's stats and Marina together. Like, they're making a lot of errors still. Like, I'm not super happy with those numbers. And, like, we know Blair has the ability to go off, but, like, at what stake is it giving every ball to Olivia? And they're not getting the in-game reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But at what point, so say teams start putting a triple block on Olivia, which some teams do already, but you would have to kind of, like, post up. That opens a window for Blair and Marina, right?
Exactly. And I like that for them.
Yeah.
I also know that, like, Blair is also just as physical, just as athletic as Olivia. Like, she's just so high and she's so strong. I think it's just like only a matter of time for her, you know.
Mm-hmm. To give Blair a little bit of a shout out, she was playing all 6 rotations on Sunday. And she looked really good in the back row. I mean,
she's especially a great back row attacker too.
I was going to say her back row attack is definitely stronger than her back row defense. She was making some really nice saves, but like her back row attack is kind of nasty in the best way.
Disgusting, yeah. And also, like, I have the same problem with this as myself. Like, playing defense and right and left back is so much easier than playing a middle back, because no balls, like, everybody tries to avoid middle back, so you're consistently like running around and you're like I literally am just standing here and hoping the ball comes to me, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's definitely hard to be a pin playing 6 rotations, but I do think she's doing a good job, and we needed more of a back row, you know. She's a good option. She's like instead of just giving like an out of system ball to the outside, you can give it to the pipe too, you know?
Yeah.
Giving it to middle back. So I like that. I like her in the back row right now too, for sure.
So let's look at the big picture. I think when one of your worst nights this season, arguably, because Notre Dame, again, is not a team that should be taking you to 5, is followed by arguably your best win of the year, that says a lot about Pitt's culture. That says a lot about this team, that they're not getting hung up in the lows and they're able to push past. You mentioned the depth earlier. And I think that this shows a lot about this Pitt team and what they're going to be able to do in the postseason.
For sure. I think that also, like, the rankings came out and they're still a top one. They're still a 1 seed.
Yeah, so building up to that, not only did the new rankings come out as Pitt as a 4, but the NCAA selection committee released their first look at the seeding, and this is before the Louisville win, mind you. Yeah. They had Pitt as the number 3 overall, behind Nebraska at 1 and Texas at 2, which is something we've been saying, but it's nice to see the validation.
Exactly.
And I mean, this is their 7th ranked win. They are 7-3 against ranked opponents. They've played the most ranked games. Texas has played 9 and they're 9-0, but they have the same amount of ranked wins as Nebraska.
Yeah, I just think the argument is that Nebraska and Texas haven't lost.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and but even if they're not playing at the same level, like, I don't think, like, I haven't watched Texas or Nebraska enough to really give like any sort of comparison, but I don't think the grit is as deep on Texas or Nebraska.
Well, they haven't had to. That's the thing is,
I just don't even know.
Nebraska is much like Pitt last year. Nebraska is sweeping opponent after opponent, and they're getting challenged every now and then. And Texas is doing the same. You know, shout out to Oklahoma for getting a set off of Texas the other day. But like, those teams, it almost feels like they're not getting challenged in the way that they need to, which was the problem for the Panthers last year. And so I think it just makes me like, I think I've said this to you, is that there's just something about this group. And I think I've finally figured it out. It's their way to battle, the way that they battle, even in the hard times, whether it was after dropping your first 2 games of the season, the battle back, or losing to Miami and then having to come into this weekend and play your biggest rival and beat them.
For sure.
And like, it gives me a lot of optimism because of everything we saw.
I agree. And I think that when the time does come down the road and like they do need to play like a Texas or a Nebraska or a Kentucky again, or I don't even know who's in the top 10 or like teams like that, they're going to be ready for it. Mm-hmm. Like, think way more ready for like that fight than any of the other teams.
They only have a few more ranked matches to go unless the rankings substantially change. You've still got Stanford on the schedule. Wow. You've got, and that's in, I want to say next weekend, maybe.
They go to California soon, I think.
They go to California. And then you've got Louisville again the day before Thanksgiving. And you've also got North Carolina, who's ranked and is currently leading the ACC 7-0. They have not played any of the ranked teams in the ACC yet, so they might start to get.
They do have some weapons, and they do have our old coach.
Yes. They look really good. Don't get me wrong. I want to see them play the ranked teams.
I do too. I'm curious to see what they'll do against us because they're usually pretty good against us. Are they going there or is it at home?
I want to say North Carolina's here, actually.
Oh, thank God.
I'll try. I have it up.
Going to UNC is we never have the best.
I'm going to pull it up really fast. But yeah, so it's like, it's with Pitt, like handle the games that you've got to handle. This weekend you've got NC State and Wake Forest. North Carolina is at home. That's my bad. Handle the business, get those ranked wins when you can. It's also not totally the end of the world if you do lose, but I don't see a game that they should lose from this point on.
I agree. I don't think they will lose. They're battle tested and they're ready.
And Olivia Babcock is Olivia Babcock.
She's never going to change and she's not getting any worse. So
no, she's getting better, which is scary.
Exactly. Which is even scarier.
Yeah. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this week's episode of Serving Up Pitt. Make sure to check out all of the Post-Gazette's Pitt coverage over at post-gazette.com. We've got you covered from the court to the field. Subscribe to this channel and our podcast channels on Apple and Spotify. There's a ton of Pitt action in the upcoming days. Volleyball has games with NC State and Wake Forest on Friday and Sunday, respectively. Pitt football is back at home for the first time in 3 weeks as a 6.5-point favorite over NC State, according to our friends at FanDuel. And there's even a basketball exhibition on Monday, the second, after they beat Providence the other day. So thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week with some more Pitt volleyball talk. Until then, stay tuned and keep serving up Pitt.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.